Hey guys, welcome back, Attack. I'm Skyland Shore, and it's a beautiful day. It really is. It's a great day to play video games inside. Yes, absolutely. When during the summer, a lot of children who are out of high school, super excited to play all these new games on their fancy PCs and such, and you know, some not so fancy. But World of Tanks, yeah, we're doing a first impression on World of Tanks. My first impression review on World of Tanks. This is one of those games that you can play on one of your fancy PCs or on pretty much any machine. So every children in summer can go and play these games. I think that's what makes these games really popular, free-to-play games. They just like anybody can play them, right? I mean, a lot of them are just like they're zero barrier for entry, right? It's free. You just go play it like World of Tanks, World of Warships, Team Fortress 2, League of Legends. Play them on any machine. And that's what I want to start out this first impression review saying, is that the game runs pretty freaking well. Not only does it run very well, but like the way the game is designed, it's like you don't necessarily need every frame ever. You know, you don't need 300 frames per second like I'm playing it at. You don't. I mean, it's totally playable at 30 FPS. It truly is. So anybody can play this game competitively, honestly, because of its slow pace and its strategic nature. So yeah, I just want to say that the game runs well. However, it's graphics, you know, it's graphics. I kind of would like a little bit more polish on the graphics. It looks good. It definitely looks a lot better than World of Tanks whenever it started. But in my opinion, I feel like if I don't know, there's like some aliasing issues, okay? So if you look at the ships, kind of like at a distance, you know, there's a lot of detail on the ships. That's really awesome, really good design. But if you look at these, if you look at the terrain, if you look at the ships, and if you look at the ocean, if you kind of look at it at certain angles, depending on the lighting, and it just, I don't know, man, it doesn't look that good. Like, you could definitely see some choppiness around the edges. So there is some anti-aliasing issues. I am playing on all max, everything maxed out, guys. So this is what the game looks like. But, you know, for the most part, it's pretty basic. It's flat water, basically. There's some little bit of waves. It's no freaking Battlefield waves, though, where you can literally ride the waves. But, yeah, some little waves. You got some islands, not too much detail on the islands. However, this is beta, so the game isn't fully released yet, but still, you know, I only played this one map. I don't know if there's, I actually don't even know if there's other maps, but I've only ever played this map over and over and over again. So yeah, I mean, there's not much to render on the screen. It runs well, so don't worry about it. I know that's a big question in a lot of these games, you know? So since this is a potential competitive game, I mean, we saw what World of Tanks has done, you know, similar to World of Tanks. He runs pretty fine on pretty much any machine. Even though the maps are really big, you know, there's not too much going on that's going to really hurt your machine, especially if you put it on all low. I'm sure you're fine. You're not going to be detrimented in any way. You're going to be able to enjoy this game. So, now that is out of the way, let's actually talk about the mechanics, guys. When you get into the game, when you actually load it up, you're going to find that the UI and everything is a little bit cleaner, but for the most part, very similar to World of Tanks. You have a tech tree, which is where you get your new vehicles, depending on the line. Like if you have USSR vehicles, you have United States vehicles, Japanese vehicles. In these tech trees, you start out with some types of boats, man, but then you actually level up and you acquire new versions of these boats, but you also can get totally different ones. You have destroyers, and you have little dinghy. Okay, they're not really dinghies, but you have different kind of boats, guys. I honestly don't know the terminology. I'm not a boat guy. A ship guy, sorry, excuse me. I know boat, ship, there's probably some freaking difference in the comments below, I know. But anyways, I'm super casual coming into this, just so you guys know. But I'm going to try to explain the different mechanics so that you guys can understand. But basically, if you don't like World of Tanks, there's a strong chance that you're not going to like this game. However, since it's World of Warships, right? Since it is Warships, I feel like it's actually a lot more faster paced, you know, because there's not too much hiding behind terrain. I mean, for the most part, it's open ocean. There are some islands that you can hide behind, and there's a little bit of strategy with that. But it's like, World of Tanks is actually really, really slow. Because you can hide so well in some of these terrains. But this game is a little bit faster paced because it's a little bit more open and battles are much longer, right? Even if you just have one battle during a 15-minute match, that battle might be 5 or even an entire, like, 10 minutes. Like, seriously, ducking and weaving in between these islands, and it's just because of the pace of the game. So whenever you are in your ship, you have a first-person mode. It's kind of like, it goes up, Like you zoom in, but your guns actually kind of go upward as well. So the arcade systems in this game make it very easy to aim. Not only that, but whenever you are looking at an enemy ship or in the general direction of an enemy ship, you kind of do a pseudo soft lock on, and this way your camera will actually rotate as you kind of move around the ship, and it sits in the same position, okay? So what this means is that you can shoot, and then your cursor will stay relative to the ship, the enemy ship, okay? So if you miss, then you can accurately kind of switch around your aim. Now, in arena shooters, you don't have anything like that, but this is a strategy game, so it's more tactical, but, you know, you have a lot of systems that make it very easy to get into the game. You don't have the, like, auto-aim feature, kind of, like, you don't have a little circle that says, here, shoot here, like you do in, maybe, like, World of Warplanes or War Thunder, but you do kind of have a lot of, systems working with you. Like you really have a lot of systems working with you so that it can help you aim and help you maneuver through the game. So I think it's a lot easier to get into than World of Tanks. World of Tanks is a bit complicated. I think this is a bit more simple, and I think overall it works really well. I really like World of Warships. This is probably a really good game, I think, at least for me, since I am casual. Now, I do have a max account on World of Tanks, but I'm still freaking casual, guys. I really am. So we got a bunch of different ships. Some of them can actually summon, like, airplanes, and I say summon, like, because it generates an airplane, and you can tell it what to do, kind of, but it's like an RTS. You don't actually fly in the airplane like in Midway. You don't get that. You don't have submarines either. You do have torpedoes. Torpedoes are pretty interesting. You do have your normal cannon shots or gun shots. I'm not exactly sure what else is in the game. There's probably a couple of other strategic weapons to utilize, but for the most part, low level, everyone kind of has the same ships. So all I've ever seen was, like, one person had torpedoes, and they move really slow, guys, by the way, but they're really strategic, though. And we also have guns, and guns are pretty straightforward, to be honest. Pretty straightforward. But of course, this is a game that is not probably going to lend itself well to first impressions. It takes a long time to actually get into these games. I don't have 24/7 to just sit here and play World of Warships to show you all the different kind of vehicles, but for the most part, let me just say, if you played World of Tanks, it's very similar in this game, okay? You have ships, and then you have slight variations of basically the same ships. Technically, they are different ships, but mechanically, you know, inside the game, the arcade systems and everything, they're basically the same ships with different values. There is some customization. You can actually change around some modules, you can change around some ammunitions, you can equip different stuff to your ship, just like World of Tanks, but, you know, in ship form. But for the most part, you know, a lot of these ships are kind of similar to other ships, so nothing, like, you're not going to have a bunch of way different vehicles. You are going to have pretty much, like, 4 classes, essentially. I mean, that's really all you're going to get. I'm going to actually pull this up while I'm talking to you guys. So, yeah, I mean, I like World of Warships. I've only played it for a little bit. I think it's fun, but one thing that I want to complain about, is that you don't have access to these multitudes of ships, right? Like, you only have the one, you have 2 ships, and they're essentially, like, mechanically very similar ships. So you can only have these 2 ships. You don't really get to experience the other classes of ships. And I feel like any game that has vehicles, characters, classes, whatever, you should have the basics. You know, you should have, like, the basics, or, like, the archetypes. You should have the different archetypes available to you level 1, so you can see what kind of playstyle that you want. If you want a sniping playstyle, if you want a run and gun scouting playstyle, or, I don't know, whatever. If you want to do, like, an RTS thing, which you can with some of these cruisers, or what is it? We have battleships, cruisers, carriers, and destroyers. Okay, carriers, yeah. Carriers. So, sorry, guys. I don't know the different boat terminology or ship terminology, guys. But World of Warships kind of gets me a little bit interested in it because it does kind of have, like, this historical accuracy kind of thing going on with it. I know some people probably are going to say that it's not completely historical accurate, but they are attempting to, more so than other games. It's not completely a simulator game, though. If you want a simulator game, you might have to go play one of those single-player console games. But, man, when's the last time we had a really good, like, ship battle simulator, like Midway, a long time ago? But yeah, for the most part, I think World of Warships is doing pretty good trying to be historically accurate. They have a lot of detail in these ships, you know, for those who are history buffs. But mechanically, I think the arcade systems kind of translate very well. I mean, they have a lot of experience, right? World of Tanks and World of Warplanes. Of course, their competitor War Thunder is putting a lot of pressure on them to develop something really polished, really well done, and they are. I really like these systems. Easy to get into, and at the same time, I think it has a nice skill cap. And the strategy, though. Like I said before, World of Tanks has a lot more terrain, there's a lot more to hide around, there's a lot more playability with the maps. World of Warships, you're on open seas, right, with some islands around. I'm not exactly sure how much strategy can really go into that. I think it's really going to go more into your team compositions, like how many battleships, who's going to be the carriers, destroyers, the cruisers. You know, it's really all into that and your formations in that. But for like this, just like the solo queue, just going and jumping into the game, most matches are going to kind of go about the same way. Really, what's going to change your gameplay is your carrier or your destroyer or whatever, your ship, guys, your freaking boat, your dinghy, whatever, I don't care. Your boats and how you customize it. That's pretty much going to be the difference there. Competitively, I'm sure we can find some really exciting things, and I'm actually finding myself pretty excited watching other YouTubers play this game, even though it's so slow-paced. I normally like arena shooters, which is terribly fast genre, so I think that this is pretty good, even though I had a bias against it. I got into the game. I'm really excited. I want to play a carrier. I want to have that sort of RTS kind of gameplay. I want to see what it's like to play a destroyer or a cruiser. I don't know, dude. I want to see the different true game types. So as a first impression, I can't really comment on that, but I can say that I wish they allowed us to do that. Even if there was just like some sort of play co-op or maybe like play against bots or something, so that I can test it out before I even get into matches, I'd be really happy with that. But so far, I can't comment on the grind. As you can imagine, from the makers of World of Tanks, it's going to be grindy, so there's that. If it's pay to win or not, I'm not entirely sure. The game hasn't fully released. We haven't really seen it too much, but I mean, it's a fun game. It's a fun, casual game that can transition very well into a hardcore following for competitive, just like we see with World of Tanks. Really, for the most part, think World of Tanks, but with ships, and that's basically it. There wasn't too much innovation here, except for maybe like how you actually aim in this game, which makes sense because you're a ship, and aiming and all that is really disorienting when you're on like a flat surface. So it was really important for them to invent a really unique mechanic, which they did, and I really like it. It's kind of hard to explain, but from the gameplay, I'm sure you can understand and get a feel for it. But yeah, go try it out right now. It's actually an open beta. It's a free-to-play game. I think it's a unique experience. It is slow-paced, though. But at the same time, I think it's actually faster paced than World of Tanks. So if you didn't like World of Tanks, I think you have a 50-50 chance of liking this game. I think they improved upon some of the gameplay formulas. I think they kind of learnt a lesson from World of Tanks. And I mean, World of Tanks itself is actually evolving, but I think this game is just a level of polish that it's pretty fantastic. It's pretty good. Now, like I said before, it's still beta, and there's still some, you know, some issues with the game. I think it could be a little bit more fantastic, a little bit easier to get into, at least competitively. Like I said, I have no idea what endgame is like. I literally can't comment on it when this game is basically all endgame, which is a big fault. But that's also a fault to first impressions, right? I mean, I can only do so much with my actual first impressions. But hopefully you enjoyed the gameplay and my ranting. I had fun playing the game, I really did, and I had fun talking to you faces, so thanks for watching, guys. I'm Skyline Shore with Attack Gaming. Please come back, Attack, and guys, remember to like and subscribe so that you can stay notified of all these first impressions, whether they be, I don't know, sequels or whatever, branch-offs of other franchises like World of Tanks into World of Warships, or otherwise, whatever, entirely new IPs. Hopefully we get some new IPs, but anyways, see you guys later. Be excited for the next video. Welcome back, Attack. Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 free-to-play MMOs for this year, for 2015, and I think across all the genres for free-to-plays, we've seen so much innovation in MOBAs, in MMOs, in like card games. We've seen so many new things this past year, and hopefully, maybe, probably so, 2015 is going to be just as exciting.